Well, I'm gonna welcome you to this, our 19th little film in our series Pattern of the Month. It's fall, the light is fading away, and I'm gonna tie you one of my favorite flies for dusk and night fishing. I call it the Barrett Bimbo. It's a fly that is done with a head, a little a wing and a little head and a loose body, where I attach the hook to the body through the medium fits, and the BTT is gonna slide down in front of it like this. I think this is a very effective way to fish in the dark. Extremely light fly, and we have to think a bit about how the fish behaves in the dark. They are less spooky. They will move into the calmer water, very often closer to the bank, where the water is slower, where you need the light fly, you need the lot of motion to the fly, because the current, there's less current where they normally are. And you also in the dark need a fly with a very good silhouette. And another two key things, I think, when especially fishing for sea trout, is that you want a fly that produces vibrations, which is sound to the fish, and also with a lot of motion to it. Okay, let's go in behind the vise and I'll show you how to tie this little favorite fly of mine. And to end up this little film, I'm going to take you to the Barrett pool on the end and show you a little bit on what can happen there. So fishing season this year is soon over. We're late fall. The light is disappearing, and we do quite a bit of our fishing in the dusk or in the complete dark. And I'm going to tie you one of my favorite flies for the dark. Call it the Barrett Bimbo. I'm going to tie it in a version where I tie a loose body and a head or a wing and hackle, and I'm going to do it on the BTT. And the reason for that is that I think that fall fishing, the very light fly can be very effective. Fish in the dark will move into the calmer water, and it can be very effective to be able to fish this extremely light fly over those fish. Okay, so enough talk. I can say those of you who are interested in looking at where the Barrett Bimbo originates from will see at the end of this little fly tying film a couple of clips from this year's adventures on the River in Sweden, on the famous Barrett pool. It's my favorite pool on the by the way. Okay, so I'm gonna tie this on the BTT. I'm gonna tie it on the glow one, which is phosphorescent, meaning it will glow in the dark. It loads light and it glows when the light will fade away. And I have to excuse that I didn't find my black lighter, so I'll have to do this now with a white lighter. And I start by melting a little bit on the extra small fluorescent orange fits tubing, put it through the BTT and make sure I pull it through. And sometimes when you deal with the painted ones, you have to pull the tubing a little bit. There's a little bit of paint inside that well, it makes it stick and stay even harder, but it can be a little tricky. Tying thread, I go with the black, of course, on the black fly, and I'm using my SSS 12.0, and I start by putting on a couple of turns here. And you know, if you fish a lot, you do also some mistakes. And I forgot my glue bottle open when I went fishing last time, so now I'll have to pick up a little bit of the rest in this, just to put a little bit of glue on the thread here. And why I do this is that on the BTT the thread can slip and slide, so it's good to have a little bit of glue there. Okay, so this is, I'm gonna tie really simple. What's important is how the fly behaves, not how complicated it's tied. And I'm starting with our Agel Hair HD, a rainbow from hell, we could call this mix. It's a mix of a lot of colors. Take a few strands and I put them on, spread them and double back. And tie them in, and if I have too many fibers on the middle, I just pull them down on the sides and tie them tight close to the tube, to the BTT. Use one that's double. Take this and I cut and pull and get these to be tapered in different lengths. And I want the flash to be under the wing because that's where the fish will see them, and maybe we get a little bit of sparkle here. And even though I'm going to do a wing in one color, it's going to be a pitch black wing, I'm going to tie it in two bunches, where I start with the shortest one first. And as you know, I always untangle all the hair by pulling it through my brush, get all the fibers beside each other, take them and taper it a little bit, pulling out the middle strands to get a nice shape of the first wing. And then I tie it in about 1/2 to 1 centimeter wide on top. Few turns of thread, make sure it's wide and spread. And what happened with the BTT and the whole idea behind the turbos, TTTs and BTTs is for the water to hit the tube or the cone and be divided and create turbulence, where we can have quite a few strands but still very wide fly that will be with motion that will be seen by the fish that sees the fish from down here. Okay, and on this fly I'm not putting any more flash onto it. I don't know if it's a fact or so, but I think that sea trout in the fall, this is one of my favorite sea trout flies, they don't appreciate flash the way salmon do. When it's cold in the spring they do, but on a fly like this I'm a bit more careful with putting on flash. Take the next bunch of hair, it should be soft and it should be curly and it should be divided and done in a way where you can see the taper. And this I think looks okay. I move my fingers up a little bit, pull a few strands just to get an even better tapering, move them back and pull it on, put it on. And this wing should be longer so we really get the shape we want. And I tie it in. So nice little black wing. I would say for sea trout, favorite sizing on these are maybe from 5 to 9 centimeter or so, not bigger. I would say 6 to 8, maybe it's my favorite size. When it comes to salmon, you can fish them a lot bigger. Okay, so I've done this and I'm gonna put on a bit of peacock. And for those of you who been waiting for our peacock packs that turned out to be more popular than we understood, they are right around the corner now, where we have what I would say is absolutely first class peacock. And I'm going to use what I think maybe is my favorite color today, and that is one that is dyed black. Peacock got a little bit of natural fluorescence to it, and it's really nice to put on top to add a little bit of tapering and a little bit of extra motion, and it's just sexy feathers, to be honest with you. Okay, and I take more of those than I normally do. I work with 3 to 5, and I spread them like this, and I tie them in, pull them down, and put them on, and make sure that these are now spread over the wing. I can pull them apart a little bit, so I get this little extra roof like this, and you can see it will look good. These are maybe turning a little bit. I can pull this up and pull them a little sideways, and they will stay better. Okay, when it comes to feathers, I can also say that our ostrich will be back soon, and that we are also introducing packs with heron and packs with pheasant rump feathers. And they will also come in 10 different colors, and the quality is just amazing. I'll show you later on when I start dealing with the ostrich here, but you can see how very nice they are. It's tricky to deal with natural materials, and I started saying we shouldn't, but now sourcing these, and they're so good, we really want to give them to you. Okay. So wing is ready, and what I do, I take a couple of jungle cocks, and soon we'll be showing you our own substitute, which probably I'll show you in the next month's film. We wanted to keep them away from you before they're ready. When you deal with natural feathers, here I pre-curve this before I tie it in. Make sure to have a sightless. The sightless is important. Kind of ridiculous to deal with extinct birds. The same time you try to save salmon stocks. Okay, so I tie in this on my side here, which is the one where I can see proportions in the best way, and I always cut between, here we go, I always cut off between tying them in, so I form one, tie it in, and then I form the other one, and then I tie that in, and I will hold it and look from above or turn the vise. I can't do that now, you will lose focus, and it won't be as good. And then I tie it in. Make sure to put it tight onto the, here we go, onto the, close to the BTT, couple of more turns. And I don't have to be really careful here with thread. It doesn't really matter, because I'm going to cover this up with heads and hackles. So, okay, when both jungle cocks are there, I will just try to take this. Shouldn't show you this. Look at this, looks like it's messy as hell, but I can steal a little bit here, just a little bit of glue. And I need the glue here just to secure the wing, and you can understand that this was not the plan, but this is what happens all the time. clean that before it gets too messy. Okay, so now I'm gonna do this really simple. On the original Barrett Bimbo, I tied a body and I had all these hackles and everything, and then I added a bit of deer hair to get extra volume, but also to get a bit more sound in the water. Vibration is sound, and deer hair is very good for that. And I use this in a bit different way. I have hair with good tips, where you can see that tips are straight and they are not broken. And I take quite a big bunch of hair and I spread it like this. And I'm gonna tie this in, and I'm gonna use this as a hackle. And I'm not tying this in the middle now. I'm pointing those whole tips further back before I tie it in. And put it on, here we go. And I spread it, having shorter part of the hair in front of the wing and more in the back. Take a couple of turns, pull it, and here it can be good to do this with a really strong thread. I use the 12-0, I think it's strong enough, but if you really want to pull when you use deer hair, you can use a stronger thread so you can pull this down. If you have good deer hair, it will hold up. If your deer hair isn't good enough, your thread will cut through the deer hair, which is not what we want. Okay, I take another bunch of hair and I deal with it a bit different. I tie this in the middle, and having more bulky hair and less tips, and I pull it and tie it in. Pull this back, work the thread through the deer hair, couple of turns in front, and this is it. And it's not like doing a regular muddler, it's a bit different, but I will show you what I want. First I'm gonna take one of my rainbow micro turbos, and here you can, if you want to, you can use size bigger turbo. And the good thing with the rainbow ones is that they are all different. So I can take one like here with a little bit more color to it, and I put it on to the tubing and pull it down a bit before I again work my messy bottle of glue. Here we go. You will laugh when you see this, right? Tiny little glue, and normally when this is fresh I have to be careful so it doesn't suck in everywhere, but this is only to secure the thread. And I put a little bit on, take the thread, pick it up, pull it in, and we're done. Pull down the cone, pull it down tight, down to the close to the BTT, and I take the fly out of the vise, cut off the tubing about 3 to 4 mil. Use your own lighter, hold it up and melt this down. Doing this, and if you're careful, it will create a good little hole and also hold the cone in a good way. Okay, so what I do now, which is a bit different maybe, is that I take this and I will hold back the tips, and then I will have this and I will cut it, and I lean the scissors onto the cone, and I just cut and twist this a little bit. And here you can decide how much you want to cut. If you want to cut this down to be a smaller head, or if you want to have it quite bulky. You can also, if you have a few of this, you can pull them. But the thing I don't do is that I don't touch these tips. This is how I want this. I want it to have a big hackle like this. This will create a lot of volume and also a lot of vibrations, and which I think for a fly that we fish in the dark is really, really important. To be honest with you, this does not have that much motion to it. Of course we have the tapered wing, but I'm now going to tie a body in a little different way that will create a lot of motion to this fly. Okay, and fishing a loose body, what I do, see, tied just a few flies and it's messy. Here we go. I'm going to use the glow tubing, fits medium, and here you don't have to do what I do. I'm going to tie this and put a cone on. You can also just cut this off straight using our tube cutter here, and you can cut it straight and tie it on and end up with a bit of thread. I'm going to do it this way now, that I cut an angle on this like I do on all classic flies. Didn't I have a piece of tubing? No, I didn't. I used it. And I take a piece of extra small orange, same as I used before, put it on. Make sure this is now sliding into the medium quite a bit inside, so we don't risk it to slip. And then I put some thread on to this, and the thread will help the medium hold the extra small, and in a way we do this without any glue. And I go back with the thread, and I leave more of the tubing than normal before I take the Mirage. And the good thing with the Mirage is that the phosphor is seen through the Mirage, meaning that I will get a bit of glow going through this. But you can see I leave more of the Barrett tubing than I normally do, and this is to get a bit more phosphor to the fly. Here I have almost like half the body being sending out some glow signals, or glowing a bit in the dark. Okay, so now I'm gonna have a bit of tail on my flies that I fish in the dark. I like to have some fluorescent, and I use craft fur again, like you've seen me do before, maybe on the tails. I think it's a good tailing material. And I spread it a bit so it's not too bulky and not just on the top before I tie it in. Take the scissors too long, and I taper, pull and cut from underneath, and you need to have a sharp pair of scissors, of course. And you've been seeing I use our curved scissor. I really like them, addicted to them. Okay, like that. If I have two long strands there, I can fix it afterwards. Then I go on to the braid. I'm going to use two different braids. I use our silver Holo braid, and I use our Alta Gold Holo braid. And what I do is that I tie in the one that I use for ribbing first and the body material afterwards. And I tie in everything underneath like this. Fold them back, turn the thread, go front, and then I just wind on the body, make sure I cover all of the tying thread. This is super strong material, and I pulled it really, really hard. Cover up that, creating a tapered tinsel body. Tie it in underneath again, few turns, cut off, and then I go on to our glitz, rainbow glitz, the rainbow from hell, which is the same as the same color mix as on the Angular HD. And the good thing with this is it's a really long fibered one. It's easy to brush out. Dab it on a little bit at a time. Don't do too much. Put on a little bit. Go back, cover up that, and create quite bulky dubbed body. Go front, make sure that I go almost all the way now to where I have my extra small. I don't need the normal 4 to 5 millimeters to tie in a wing on, because the wing and everything is on this part of the fly. So here we go. And now I actually, especially on these bodies, I brush this a little bit before I tie in the hackle. And I want this to be pointing out like that, be a bit flashy, and give a lot of volume. Okay, let's see what we have here. Here are our fantastic ostrich, and you can see we have them in small and bigger feathers, and we have a few. Let's see what we have, the good ones. A few of them are a little bit stiffer. Let's see if I'll find one for you. Here you have one. It's a little bit stiffer, meaning it's harder to wind as a hackle. These feathers, I prefer to use these for the butterflies, where I put the hackle on like this. I could do this now on this fly, but I don't like the butterfly when I don't have the wing to steer, because then the butterfly can make this spin. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to tie in one of the softer ones, and I'm going to tie it in as a hackle. And what I do is that I strip it off. If I'm careful, I can use a feather like this for 2 flies. But this time I'm gonna just take this away. You can take the fibers and put them in the dubbing loop if you want, and use them as hackle that way. But I want to tie this in, and I tie it in underneath again. It's quite stiff, so I will use quite a few turns of thread here. Cut it off. And as I do with all hackles, I always do 1 turn here before I start going back. Make sure they don't tangle too much. And I tie this in, this little ostrich feather, as a very soft, very nice little hackle here. And it's going to be like a spay hackle. Taking the braid, spin it. It's the good thing with the SSS braid is that you can just spin it down to any size you want. Small fly, big fly. And I cross over every turn of hackle with the ribbing. Make sure it's pulled down really hard. And now it doesn't really matter where you tie it in. I tie it in underneath like this with a few turns. And then I back this down, tie it back so it can't slip. And I cut it off, take off the tip of the feather, and I have created a body with a lot of motion. And you should also realize or think about when you tie them, let's show you a few fibers here, that what happens with these is that when they get wet, all the small things we have on the ostrich will disappear, and they lose about half or more of the volume. So it needs to look a bit overdressed when we're here, or it will be too skinny when ready. And I put on a micro turbo here. Go on to the, I was going to say a bad word, but this glue that's seen its best days, and just a little bit. It's only for securing the thread. Use support, put on a little bit of glue here. Take the thread, move down some glue, 1 or 2 turns. And when you are supposed to cut it, what you can do is that you can loosen the tension a little bit, and you will see that it's already strong enough for you to cut away. Take this, pull it down, take the fly out of the vise. Here I can use a little plier, or I can just pull by my fingers. I need to pull this down really close to protect the thread. And we are almost done. Hold back the feathers, use support by the fingers, cut off 2-3 mil. Wrong side, color of the lighter again, and I just melt this down. And the good thing here is that if you look at this, see I have a BTT here, what's gonna happen is that this will go into the BTT and it will be protected there. This is the way that this will fish. And I brushed it a bit before. I'm gonna brush it just a little bit more. And pulling out a few of the flashy fibers here to blend with those ostrich feather, like that. Okay, so too long there, take it away. Okay, so this is how this is gonna fish. It's a body that will create a lot of motion, also gives a bit of volume, and I put this on to the leader, and it's gonna slide on the leader, put the hook in the back of the medium, and this will come down like this. And I have created a night fly with a lot of motion, a lot of noise, and a really, really strong silhouette. And this is what I think is the key to flies to be fished in the dark, especially for sea trout. Salmon would also take the long-winged, slimmer fly in the dark, but sea trout like these bulky flies, and also when we fish for sea trout we get the salmon too, so it's pretty obvious that they like him too. Okay, so the Barrett Bimbo on the BTT. A couple of small tricks here maybe, and I hope you enjoyed it. And for those of you who want to tie them, of course we have our packs again with materials, and those of you who would like to fish the Barrett Bimbo in the BTT version, we got the fly packs with 6 flies in different colors and different sizing too. Okay, so we're ready. And I'm gonna clean this up, and I'm gonna leave you with a little clip from the Barrett pool on the and I hope you liked it a lot. And next time it's gonna be our 20th little film, and we're gonna tie a completely different fly for completely different conditions, maybe on other rivers too. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you picked up a few tricks. The light is fading away, and I hooked this beautiful fish here. Been all over the place, and as always you hope it's a trout, but you see it's all white on the belly, but it's a salmon. White silver fish. Quite silvery.